I had a thought when I came home from work Friday night. We haven't done a Ken Ham video. I would like to head over to his little museum and have a talk with him.
It's interesting, you know, when the secular media, secularists come to the Creation Museum and they want to interview me, mostly their questions are about the age of the earth.
Dude, more than half your museum screams, look how the universe was created in 6 days just 6,000 years ago.
Nailed it!
So I can't imagine for the life of me why people would ask you questions about it. I know, it's just fucking bizarre, right? Ken Ham. I mean, what more can I say about him? If you're watching this, you already know who I am talking about, and frankly, I'm sick of giving these guys praise. Ken is so far from playing with a full deck that he's only got the jokers to play with, and they all work directly for him. So, yeah, the guy that runs the Creationist Museum actually had something he wants to say that, first, we haven't done yet.
Wait, what?
I know, right? But yeah, we're gonna be going over his full presentation for fun.
It's usually always about the age of the earth. It's interesting, whenever they do articles in secular newspapers...
Normal. The word is normal. Normal newspapers.
You'll often see where they say, oh, something about the Ark or the Creation Museum. This is the group headed by Ken Ham that believes in a young earth and that dinosaurs live with people and they don't believe in millions of years. They always seem to want to categorize us that way, as if believing in a young earth means these people are nuts.
I am inclined to agree. Believe in a young earth means you are nuts. That about sums it up, yeah.
Okay, I bet that's how they want to portray it.
No, that is how you come off to the rest of the... Wait, wrong word. That is how you come off to the actual scientific community.
You see, secularists believe in millions of years, and they have to. You know why they have to? Because how do you get people to believe in an impossible process, because you don't see one kind of animal changing into another today, you don't see life producing new information to go into our genes, you don't see matter producing life by natural processes, you don't see any of that.
That's not how evolution works. You don't just snap your fingers and your dog gives birth to a bear. But little changes over time will cause a species to change. We've gone over tons of different new species in this channel debunking stupid claims like this. Darwin's finches, a London underground mosquito, different species of fish, the peppered moth, all showing evidence of speciation over time in our own recorded history. We don't see that, and that's why Kent is wrong. Because the Bible tells you that you should see that, since 4,000 years ago, only a few kinds were on the ark, and those kinds were supposed to speciate out all the ones that we have to date, and it would have had to have happened within the less than 1,000 years after the flood. So the entire population of animals in the world should be able to speciate in just 1,000 years. And if that is possible, we should be seeing thousands of new species coming in and about just in our lifetime of the average human. But we don't. So something else must be happening here.
Right? We can categorize all the animals and plants we see into particular groups and families in our classification system. Evolution is an impossible process. How do you get people to believe in an impossible process? You have to get people to believe in an incomprehensible amount of time.
Well, thank dog that we have several hundred mountains of evidence that the universe has been around for an incomprehensible amount of time. There is so much evidence that it is impossible for this jackass to comprehend.
Kinky.
But then again, I wouldn't trust him with the intelligence to fry an egg.
Because if you believe in an incomprehensible amount of time, given enough time, all the little changes we see, oh, they'll add up to the big changes for evolution. The reason you don't see it? Oh, because it takes millions of years.
Well, let me just say you're correct.
And it's interesting, back in 1954, George Wald, an American biochemist who received the Nobel Prize, said this: "Time is the hero of the plot. What we regard as impossible on the basis of human experience is meaningless here. Given so much time, the impossible becomes possible, the possible probable, the probable virtually certain. One only has to wait. Time itself performs the miracles."
You get a tweet now.
Hey, why does he get the beef jerky? But yes, and it's because the biblical account of speciation and evolution giving a young Earth is fucking impossible.
And so, really, for the secularists, time is one of their gods.
All hail the blessed hour hand, for when it strikes 5, I get to fucking leave and drink something intoxicating.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Now, there is something he talks about that I'm a bit uncomfortable bringing up. It's a throwaway comment that should not be said in passing. Yes, there are some things that even I won't mention on this channel. And I've talked about genocide, rape, murder, slavery, and several other high-profile subjects. One thing I won't talk about is race.
You can have all the time you want, but you will never find an example where matter produces brand new information to get added into the genome, because natural selection, adaptation, acts on the genetic diversity already present in living creatures. You never see new information being generated to evolve one kind into another. You can have all the time in the world, and you'll never see matter generating an information system and a language system. I'll talk about that tomorrow, that we have in DNA.
This is just a full-on misunderstanding of how evolution works. But he mentioned DNA, so let's start there. I'm going to make a simple analogy to give you an idea on how DNA works and new information is added. Well, you know what? Let's get rid of that word. New. I don't like that word when it comes to DNA. New. Because what is getting added isn't technically new. We don't have a new thing. We have a different thing for a unique purpose. So let's say that a short snippet of DNA is sitting there. It's sort of a base 4 coding sequence. The 4 bases of DNA are adenine or A, cytosine or C, guanine or G, and thymine or T. We will give these chemicals numbers. Adenine is 1, cytosine is 2, guanine is 3, and thymine is 4. Now, in your DNA loves numbers that add up to 5. So 1 and 4 will link, and 2 and 3 will link. So let's say your DNA strand that lets you see the color red goes 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side of the DNA strand, and on the other side it's 4, 3, 2, 1. So they link up nice and cutely. All you can see at this point is red, but this is the part of DNA that lets you see. Anything after a previous code will dictate what colors you can see. For now, let's say everything you see is red. Still, red everywhere because there isn't a code to see like blue or anything. But then a mutation happens. The 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side duplicates but gets rearranged a little bit. Now instead it reads 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4. And on the other side, it reads 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 2, 3, 1. And that is the code for blue. Now you can see red and blue and purple and all sorts of new colors in between. Now another mutation happens, and the code reads 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 4, 1, 3, 2. And the opposite on the other side. Ooh, now you can see green. RGB, like your computer screen. Now you can see the entire spectrum of colors. Was new information added? No. Still the same numbers, just rearranged. Was different information added? Yes. A different sequence of information is now there. So, over the generations, as these mutations take place, different things will happen. Maybe the sequence changed so your nose looks a little smaller, or your cheekbones are a little higher, or you're a little stronger than your parents had. These little changes, generation to generation, with different sequences being introduced, make sweeping changes across a population of creatures. If that change aids in the survivability of that individual, the individual will pass on their altered code onto the next generation, which will also have that beneficial code, until the entire population has it. And that's when we start seeing them in the fossil record. Like the toes on the Eohippus was not beneficial when the environment changed, since agility was less beneficial than speed. So, when a mutation occurred that joined the toes and strengthened the hoof, it allowed the following generation to run faster for longer, so it could escape a predator. Hopefully this will give you a better understanding at even a basic level. It's not perfect, but I'm sure the geneticists in the audience are spazzing out at the way I'm describing it, but I'm not trying to give you a science lecture here, just give you an analogy in sort of a simple way.
And that's why it's interesting. You take people like Richard Dawkins, that famous atheist, and I've seen people interviewed by him and seen him on panels and so on. If you say to him you don't believe in evolution, you don't believe people came from ape-like creatures, he'll mock you and say, oh yeah, but you know, you're wrong and so on. But you tell him you believe in a young earth, a young universe, and you reject millions of years, he'll go berserk.
Yeah, most atheists in general couldn't give a fuck less how stupid you want to be, but we tend to have one little thing that's a trigger. One little thing that will set us off and make us just go into a fit over how insanely stupid the person saying it is. For me, it's... well, I'll just let you watch the other Monday videos. You'll find out what mine is.
Because they have got to believe in millions of years. If you don't, see, think about it. If they don't have millions of years, they can't propose their evolutionary ideas.
Much like how young Earth dimwits like Kent have to cling onto their Bible and claim the 6 days of creation is literal. Because if that is all prose, their argument falls apart. So they have to grasp onto it tightly and hold on to it like Gollum is precious.
We make no apology about the fact that we believe the Earth is only thousands of years old.
Well, you should apologize to everyone.
Now, people say to me, where do you get the 6,000 from? Because you don't open up the Bible and it says the Earth is 6,000 years old. You're right, the Bible doesn't give a date for creation.
The world is your anus, so peg it with honesty.
Demon, that clip? Really?
Yeah, bitch. Really?
Well, yeah, the Bible doesn't say when the universe was created at all. Now what?
If it did, that'd be a problem. You know why that'd be a problem? Because the Bible was completed 2,000 years ago.
And not true. Not true at all. I mean, it's approximate, but that last book of the Bible was written over 100 years after Jesus. So maybe a bit nitpicky here, but we're talking 1,900 years, not 2,000.
But the Bible does give us a very specific history where we can actually calculate the age of the universe.
And this is why we picked this video. I'll let this play out for now.
The Bible tells us God made everything in 6 days. Stop right there for a moment. Herein lies a major problem. People say, but those days could be millions of years. Those days could be long periods of time. Okay, well, just put that aside for the moment. If those days really were 6 24-hour days, if God actually created in 6 24-hour days, and on day 6 he made Adam. And then we learn, as we read in the genealogies there, like in Genesis 5, we learn that Adam had a son, Seth, at 130, and then Seth fathered Enosh at 105, and Enosh fathered Kenan at 90, and Kenan fathered, I don't know how to pronounce it, Mahalalel or whatever it is, at 70, and then he fathered Jared at 65, and Jared fathered Enoch at 162, and Enoch fathered Methuselah at 65, Methuselah fathered Lamech at 107, Lamech fathered Noah at 182, and so it goes on, and you've got those very specific genealogies, and you can add up all the dates. And when you do, and you get to Noah, the flood, and then you get to Abraham, and from Abraham to Christ, and then from the babe in a manger at that time to today, it adds up to about 6,000 years.
There it is. The genealogy of humanity according to the Bible. I am going to take one of them, and debunk the entire genealogy with one single bullet. I only need one. Noah himself. Yes, Noah. Genesis chapter 7 verse 6 says Noah was 600 years old when the flood came. It lasted a year, making him 601, and he died at age 950, so 350 years after the flood. Noah would have had to have been alive in the year 2000 BCE, and that is when he died. At this point, several civilizations have developed. All of them would have regarded Noah as their ancestor, since he was technically still alive at the time of their establishment. In fact, all the cultures around the entire Mediterranean would have had to know of Noah at the very least and regarded him as some sort of establishing figurehead of theirs. Want to know how many cultures refer Noah other than the Bible itself? 0. None. They have absolutely no reference at all. He is not mentioned in any Egyptian glyphs at all. No reference to him in China, nothing in Mesopotamia where Noah actually was supposed to have lived. If Noah actually lived to the year 2000 BCE, and he and his family aided in populating the entirety of the region, why did not a single solitary culture know about him other than what is written in the Bible? Oh, did you want to say they just forgot about him? Noah's son Shem was on the ark, and he was supposed to be alive in the time of Abraham. Yes, Shem was alive, and well, supposedly for 150 years of Abraham's life. Shem was alive when Isaac was born and lived for 50 years of Isaac's life, including when he married Rebekah. So why was Shem, a direct child of Noah himself, not mentioned at all? Why are people living for almost 200 years in one place of the earth and no one else is living that long? That would also be descendants of Noah. Here's why. The years in the Bible aren't even remotely accurate. They can't possibly be. Nothing of history makes any sense if the people involved in the flood myth were alive and walking the earth at the same time as the Israelites were given the 10 fucking commandments. And other people in other cultures weren't even remotely living the same lengths of time as the ones mentioned in the Bible, like Abraham himself, supposedly living 175 years, with everyone else on the planet dying after 50 or 60 years at that point, at the most. In reality, discovered history makes no mention of anything the Bible claims in its genealogy at all. I challenge theists watching to give me one evidence of that genealogy present in 2000 BCE, where Abraham and Shem were present together. I'll wait. In the meantime, I am Corsi, and this is the Fluffy Atheist. Pet those like and subscribe buttons, and remember, a little research goes a long way. Let the Fluffy Atheist do it for you.